Cortland was talking the other day about the belief that people have in Bo in the fourth quarter, no matter what the score is. I guess when the team starts to have that belief in its quarterback, and not that it just started, obviously, but how can that impact a team?
Oh, I think, morale is such a big deal, in any sport. And, he's demonstrated, we've demonstrated, the ability to come up big, when we need it. And I think when you've done it a few times and that belief, plants itself in a team, it's huge. And, it's, I'm up in the box, so I kind of hear about it. Like, they're like, hey, we were down 2 scores, and the guys were on the sidelines like, hey, we got them right where we want them. So it's good, and it's wish we didn't have to do it all the time, but it's nice to know we can.
I think it was before that last drive, the TV cameras panned to Bo, and he was smiling and laughing. Do you recognize he has a slow heartbeat, like these situations? Because some guys could say they want the smoke, but they don't want it.
Yeah, I think, I think as the game wears on and he settles into it all, I think, able to play faster and more confident, more comfortable. And, it's again, it's happened a number of times. So I think when it keeps happening, everyone starts believing it. And he's shown it. And it's really the whole offense. Guys are making plays when they need to. And, again, hopefully we can have a couple games where it's not as necessary to have to be so clutch at the end, but we'll take them.
What have you seen from the growth and development of Troy Franklin? We're about halfway through the year, and he's got 2 more targets than 4. So
yeah.
Like what Troy's doing now?
For sure. Yeah. I mean, he's a talented guy, and, it's sometimes this league takes a little time to settle in and figure it all out, and, he just keeps growing and getting better. And, again, just like we were talking about with the fourth quarter clutch plays, when you keep doing it, you have confidence and good things keep happening. So hopefully we can keep that snowball rolling.
What makes R.J. Harvey such a dangerous threat coming out of the backfield as a receiver?
Yeah, I think, obviously there's a skill set there, good hands, he's athletic. And then I think, his experience as a quarterback, I think when you've played that position, you can see the game a little more holistically, and he's got great feel, great instincts, and you add all those things together, and it's a good runner, and he's a good receiver and a valuable piece. So I think it's a combination of athletic ability and intelligence and football IQ and good instincts. All those things go together, and we're real excited about him.
Sean's talked before about Crosby's motor. How rare is that for a D lineman?
Yeah, he's a phenom. I mean, just obviously he's got a ton of ability. He's so disruptive, but it's the motor that really stands out, like you said. I mean, just every single play, it's all out, and you can't help but just get distracted by him every play. You just watch, there he is again, just causing disruption, and just tough, great stamina, and just a motor that, every single play is 100%. And there's a lot of guys that are dangerous, and sometimes they might pick and choose their spots, and he picks every single spot, and it's a problem. He eliminates a lot of things you want to do because of how disruptive he is. So not a guy I wish we had to see twice a year, for sure.
Any more questions for Coach?
Joe, what do you think has allowed Palcho to make such a seemingly seamless transition to the other side?
Yeah, I was just thinking about that. I was talking when we were walking off the practice field. He's just, he's just got such a calmness to him. Again, another really smart football player that knows exactly how to play to his skill set. Again, it's a phrase that gets used a lot. I've said it before. He's just a football player. He's just everything from a makeup standpoint that you want from a guy. There's just some guys that get their job done, regardless of what it is, and they play maybe better than what their skill set would tell you they're going to play like. And he's one of those guys. Just you wish every football player you coached, you wish was just like him. He's awesome.
How'd your cornerbacks hold up, in light of Pat's absence?
Not bad, Mike. Obviously it was a game where they had a
big-time receiver in Collins, and we had a good plan to kind of keep him from hurting us. And the guys played to the plan. They competed when they had the one-on-ones with Nico, and outside of that, it was a clean performance for those guys.
What makes Huff so unique now that you've had him for a half season? Did he have any more on his plate with Pat out? Any more responsibility?
Well, not really. I mean, he is the ultimate eraser. Anything in the running game or pass game that kind of pops and kind of gets loose, man, he kind of gets it down for us. And that's a mark of a good safety. He has got great size and great range in both run and pass game. He is a guy that's playing fast, and even on the one play, on the boot play, our backers ran past it. He kind of caught a wind of it and kind of went over the top of it and made it for 1 yard. That's special traits that the best guys have, and he has those traits.
Bowers has been a little beat up this year, but obviously had a big game last week. Just what sort of challenge does he pose there?
Yeah, he's special. Obviously last year, the first game we played him, he kind of hurt us a little bit, a couple big plays. And the second time we played him, we put Patrick on him. I mean, he's that kind of a player. Watching this year, obviously his healthiest and best game was last week, unfortunately for us. He had a big game again. I mean, he has got the size and the speed of an NFL receiver, but the size of a tight end. So the toughest job with him is getting him tackled. You can kind of cover him with a safety or a defensive back body, but can you get him on the ground? After he catches the ball. He made 4 or 5 big plays last week, which just catching the 10-yard spot route, and the rack after is major. So having a great plan to kind of get him rerouted early and just keep the coverage top down on him is going to be important to win a game.
Vance, the defense had 2 goal line stops on the 1 yard line, didn't allow him in. How big is that for the defense, and how difficult?
That's huge, and it's hard to do. Obviously, I think 4 downs from the 1 yard line is hard to do. But our front, they played stout, they kept their pads down, and our backers kind of cleaned it up for us. I thought Greenlaw in that goal line stance was outstanding. He had 2 knockback tackles, and he had a big knockback, on the guard on the first play. But when you can do that on the 1 yard line for 4 downs, that makes it a special day, and that kills the opposing team. They should get points there, some kind of points there, and they come out of that thing with a field goal once and no points the first time is huge for our team.
Vance, I don't think Huff did a ton of man-man coverage stuff when he was in SF. Has he surprised you at all with how good he's been in coverage this year? Did you know that you could get that kind of player?
I think watching his tape in San Fran, he wasn't asked to do a bunch of single high coverage as far as seams or man on tight ends. It was more of a quarters, kind of a soft 3 system. But I was surprised in training camp when I watched him move around a little bit and cover guys. It was surprising. He's a big man. Not a small person at all, but he is a twitchy guy who can really jump and run. So his coverage stuff has been no issues for us. It's been really a blessing to have his range over top of zones. He's touched 2 balls in 2 games. He's dropped them both. He's got to catch those footballs. But his range is apparent in the back end. That I didn't see in San Fran.
Coach, Sean was talking again about he was mad about this 11th guy substitution. I know you didn't want to talk about substitution last week, but anything that you can explain or you can...
Yeah, well, I think the 2 are a little bit different, Mike. I'd be happy to talk about this one. I think the challenge for us, when I say us, I mean the 32 coordinators in the league, is when you get to this part of the season, all the moving parts, the injuries, all that stuff. And so, as a coordinator, special teams coordinator, managing guys' roles during the week. And that's where we ran into a snag the other day in the game. We had a couple times where the 11th guy's running out late, which we can't have. And listen, guys' roles changed. Obviously, we've been fortunate, through these first 8 weeks of not having a ton of moving parts, and then all of a sudden we lose a few guys for this game, and then, roles change. So that's where I've got to be better, players got to be better, we all got to be better on the substitution part of it. That's what Sean was alluding to. Just guys, running out late. We had some guys on the bench that were supposed to be on the field, things like that. So, listen, I've always prided myself on being an organized, disciplined guy. I think you guys probably know that about me by now. And so those are things we got to get cleaned up, and we will. We'll get that done this week, and we'll get all that stuff rectified.
The track record speaks to itself with your success. What's going on now? Is it a disconnect? Because we're not used to seeing your kind of special teams have, like in last game, maybe 4 or 5 things you maybe want back. Is it a disconnect? Does players need to execute better? Is it on you? How do you see that?
I think it's on all of us. I think it starts with me. I'm the special teams coordinator. So, and I appreciate the compliment. But I've had rough patches before in my career. I've been doing this for a long time. This is 17 years in the NFL for me, and 16 in college, and so 30+ years special teams. You're going to have some peaks and valleys. I think one thing we have to do is we have to accentuate the positives. I know it may not look like that, but there's actually a lot of things that we're doing well. But we've got to help the cause more. We cannot, be the reason that we're losing field position and things like that. But listen, it starts with me. Always starts with me as a coordinator, and it trickles down to the players. So I certainly take full responsibility on getting it cleaned up. I'm going to tell you right now that through my experience, I'm certainly confident in myself and my ability, and we'll get it cleaned up. And listen, the players are 100% bought in. There's absolutely no doubt about that. We've had some issues here or there, but along the way we've had a lot of positive too. So we got to keep doing the positive things, but we've got to help the team more in these situations for sure.
Coach, is it a little more difficult on a short week to get those cleaned up, or do you have to simplify things, or how do you approach this?
Yeah, I think that's a really fair question. No question, we can't practice things full speed this week the way we'd like to and get some of the things corrected. But listen, some of the things are things we've been talking about all year long. So it's not like there's these brand new things that have come up. There's some fundamental things, losing leverage and coverage. Obviously we made a bad decision fielding a punt. We got to do a better job there. So these are concepts that we've been preaching since day one. But yeah, listen, on a short week, is it a challenge? Absolutely. We've all got to do a better job. Myself, the staff, the players, locking in on the substitutions. You got to play a clean game and help the cause.
Darren, you guys were obviously very aware of what a factor Autry was just in the block kicking
Yeah.
game. Was it frustrating that he comes out on the first field goal and still does that? What did you see in that play reviewing?
Yeah, listen, I'm going to give credit to their coaching staff, and I'm going to give credit to the player. There's a really great player that made a really great play. It was a breakdown in protection. But is it frustrating? Yeah, because it was I know Sean talked about that. It was one of our keys to victory, and then to have him come through and make a play. On that note, I want to give a huge shout out, because they probably don't get it, is Calvin Throckmorton, Frank Crum, Palcho on the last field goal, on the game-winning field goal. Outstanding protection, and that probably flies under the radar a little bit. But those three guys were on the block side there with Autry, and did a great job. And so as disappointed as I was on the block, I was certainly as excited about the way we executed that last one. And that's what I mean about some of the things we are doing well. But we have got to be more consistent. There's no question about that. That's plain to see.
A few more for Darren.
Darren, I think cameras caught Sean saying to Wil, right before the field goal. Which is your impression of because some kickers might not want it. What is it about Wil that kind of he can that does work?
You know what? They have a very unique relationship, and obviously it dates back to New Orleans. And I think Sean knows Wil pretty damn well, and I think he knows what he can say, what he can't say, what to say in certain situations, when to say something, when not to say something. Listen, we've talked about Wil. Will's a guy that's been around now for a while, and I think he knows Sean's going to probably say something on the way out. He's probably said more than just that at other times, but certainly, I actually didn't know that till afterwards. You know what? The truth of the matter is, when Wil was walking out, Sean said something, and Wil looked back to me, kind of gave me one of those. I didn't know what I was referring to. I didn't hear Sean say that, but no, kudos to Wil. Just staying locked in. Again, kudos to the operation, to the protection. I think sometimes we take those for granted. And you look at a lot of the kicks around the league, missed extra points, missed field goals, other blocked kicks. And so we got to take care of our own. But I think sometimes we take that for granted. So great job by those guys.
Darren, do you think that with fewer instances where you have to blast the kickoff out of the back of the end zone, that the kickers maybe have a little bit more juice or energy in maybe the fourth quarter to put more leg into a field goal?
I do. Listen, I think the kickers around the league are getting a lot better. I know that there's been a lot of talk this year about the K-ball and all that stuff. The truth of the matter is there's really no difference in the field goal percentage from last year. There's really no difference in the field goal percentage of longer field goals from last year. I think the kickers in this league are getting better and better and better. Cam Little breaks the record. Aubrey tried to tie it last night. You're going to continue to see some of these longer field goal attempts, but we also have to keep in mind that it flips the field position. I do think, to your point, though, not having to have these touchbacks every time, that the kickers, now I've heard the opposite. I've heard some guys say, hey, all these kickers are trying these knuckleball kicks and these line drives, and now we're seeing some line drive field goals that are being missed and getting blocked. And some people are giving that as one of the reasons why some of these, the blocks are up this year a little bit. So I think it depends how you look at it. I will say this, even the Raiders in that game the other night against Jacksonville, there's 3 50-plus yard returns in that game, and this we're all seeing this dynamic kickoff, how it's playing into these games and how much of a big deal it is. We're just about 80% right now for the for the return rate, so it's really changed. I looked at the stats this morning; it's amazing. If you compare it to 2 years ago to the old rule till now, how much different these games are because of it.